Keep in mind, I'm shit at improv, so there's gonna be... I can't promise what the quality of this is gonna be. Hello! Welcome to 4-Player LAN Party. I'm Patrick. We have my man with the plan, Vaughn, behind the camera. And today, it is Nintendo Switch OLED Day. So we're going to be reviewing and going over the Nintendo Switch OLED, as you can see right here, and all of its majestic glory. We're going to be comparing it to the base Switch, the light Switch, and everything in between. And you know what? You know what I'm thinking? This table is missing just one thing. Skyward Sword, Legend of Zelda, and Loftwing Amiibo. I feel like it's just the thing that'll bring this to... You know what? He was kind enough to give me this here, so I think we're just gonna... There we go. There we go. That's much better. Don't we think so? I'm sure this will have absolutely no repercussions whatsoever. So like I said, we're going to be talking about the Nintendo Switch OLED, or the OLE, as I like to say, because it's just easier and it rolls off the tongue better for me, at least. We unfortunately only have the one, because Nintendo does not send us anything. Vaughn literally had to go to New York just to get the apparel, as you can see here, because it's slim pickings out here where we're at. The OLED came out October 8th. I've had it over a little over a week now and some change. First impressions, much better than I thought it was going to be. Now, I'm still not sure if it's 350 worthy, but we'll get into that later. But initial handling of it, I personally love it. Like, I'm a Nintendo guy, so I was gonna love it anyway. Every time they announce a new system, you know, I'm just gonna get it. Got that Nintendo stamp of approval, but I know the initial first impressions for many people were, is this worth $350 for a LAN cable extension? And at least for me, I can tell you yes. So right away, just in handheld mode, it immediately, because that was the biggest changes that happened to it on the technology end, is that it sounds better. It has slightly better resolution because the screen is also bigger as well, and the kickstand is massively improved. And honestly, I played it on equal times on the TV on the dock. I've played it equal times handheld mode. I tried it with jacked headphones and the wireless headphones, because they patched that in too while Nintendo was at it. They were like, hey, let's release a new system. And, oh yeah, let's give Bluetooth finally, flip that switch. You just know there was some intern that was like, what do you mean it's not on? It's been in the system since it launched. Who turned it off? Yes, so initially, like I said, the handheld mode is getting all the attention on it since it came out and all that stuff. So right off the bat, I'm a nerd. Like, I like the little things, right? I'm a very particular guy. The kickstand, they were not kidding when they said that this was really big. It's basically the length of the entire console, and it goes really far back, which I personally love because I'm always like laying at awkward angles because I just can't sit still. So I love the fact that it's much more adjustable than the other one. It's the fact that it's not, unlike the base model Switch, its kickstand is not the length. There we go. It's not the length of my pinky anymore. So you can see here the base model Switch's kickstand is really flimsy. You kind of have to pop it out of place, and I always feel like I'm gonna pop it right off the socket of it, and it breaks with the slightest amount of any pressure on there, and that's about as far as it goes. Like, even trying to put it up and down, it clicks, and you can just feel it wanting to go. Feels very cheaply made. And trying to put it into kickstand mode is always a pain, because it just never wants to stay, because it's always so, like, weighted on the one end. And, like, you always gotta try and, like, find that sweet spot of it. It just seems really thin, and I never had confidence in it when I was putting in a kickstand, and I don't honestly know anyone who used it. Cool. What is that? But it's like a whole line. I thought it was a crack at first. Let them see the behind the scenes. This is what we do for you. This is what we do for you, you two. All right. All right, so the next big contender on the OLED, the screen. Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing that they were advertising besides like the sound quality for it and everything else.
That looks amazing.
Right? Look how crisp this looks. Look how clean this looks. Like, look how amazing this looks. And this is what I meant when I said, like, I'm much more impressed with it now that I have my hands on it and I can physically see it way more than I thought I was going to be. And I'm thoroughly impressed because I know everyone was very skeptical about, you know, is an OLED screen going to be worth the investment for it? Personally, I think it is. As somebody who games with Nintendo Switches like a lot, I take it with me to work. I game on my 30 minutes. So this new screen, I thoroughly enjoy it. Same thing for the sound quality as well. That was the other thing that they were advertising in all the hype reels, is that the sound quality while it's in handheld mode is amazing. And boy howdy is it amazing. At least with the bass switch, for me it always sounded in handheld mode like the audio was coming out of a tin can almost. It was very echoey, it was very kind of like 2008 camera handheld, making your first backyard YouTube video style quality. At least in my opinion. But this right here, and you can kind of see it in a really good comparison to bass switch, is that especially side by side, you can really tell the difference here. But even with, okay, it might be dead, but just alone, it might be a little hard to see in the light, but you can kind of see on the bass switch, it has these darker black screens here that frame the screen, and the OLED basically fills in those extra couple of inches on the base screen. And because of that, you have much more screen real estate. Also, the white Joy-Cons are just so extra, and I love them. I would have paid $350 just for the white Joy-Cons. I know they're gonna get ideas. Thoroughly impressed by it. The kickstand's amazing. It's easier to get the SD cards in and out. The screen, it looks amazing. Like I said, they basically took all the unused real estate on the base switch and filled it out as much as they can. And it's a lot easier to play it in handheld mode now. It sounds better in handheld mode now. When you can actually use the kickstand and not feel like it's gonna break on you every 3 seconds, unless you have like a completely flat table. The big game that came out with it was Metroid Dread. It came out the same day. It was clearly meant to be like a launch day title for it. I love Metroid Dread. I love Metroid as, you know, as a whole franchise. You may or may not have seen our discussions on it, and if not, then that's a future spoiler for it, you know. Stay tuned. But I'm a big fan of Metroid, especially the 2D side-scrolling Metroids, and Dread has been amazing for it. And I just saw an article today that Dread has been so successful in the mainstream audience that it's single-handedly boosting the sales of all the previous Metroids. And everyone is now finally realizing just how hard it is to get their hands on them without emulating them, which is a big no-no from the big N. So, put it on the Virtual Console for Switch, you cowards. I love Dread. It's so incredibly... I didn't think it was possible for a 2D side-scroller to make me scared, let alone from Nintendo, but boy howdy, do they figure it out. They cracked the code. So without getting into too many spoilers, basically, you know, if you've seen the trailers, you know those big robots are hunting you. They exist only in a certain area on the map. You can see where that area is. You have to, like, pass a doorway to get into it. Once you're into it, you are being hunted the second you step through that door. So immediately you're already on edge. They do this weird film grain effect when you're in this zone, so it looks unsettling, it sounds unsettling. They do these weird, like, high-pitched beep boops noises, which are going to haunt my nightmares for the foreseeable future. I think I'm going to wake up in the middle of the night every time my printer kicks on. But with the OLED, this looks like how a lot of games were meant to be played. This, to me, seems like Nintendo's... what they envisioned the Switch originally supposed to be. The big thing that everybody was a little upset about when they announced it was that they were thinking it was going to be the Switch Pro. They thought it was going to be 4K resolution and all that other jazz. Initially, we thought this was like a stopgap. They couldn't do it. We all know it's probably because of the microchip shortage that's going on. Whatever, various reasons. But now that a bunch of tech heads have gotten their hands on it, they've gotten into the guts of the OLED. Apparently, it has the connectors for 4K resolution HDMI cables. It just, the rest of the GPU and the CPUs don't support it yet, which kind of implies that Nintendo might be trying to future-proof the OLED. Rather than make a new console, they might be, to put on my tinfoil Nintendo hat, they might be, at a later date, if I was a guessing man, trying to upgrade the OLED somehow to a 4K resolution sometime in the near future. And rather than make a new console, they might just have like an extension, or they might just be able to flip it on their end. I don't know. I'm not a tech guy, I'm a Nintendo guy. But there is evidence that we will have 4K Nintendo either in the near future or in the future in general, which, if that's the case, it's better to have the OLED now. But if you can, I would get your hands on an OLED sooner rather than later. Pull the trigger, buy the guy off of Craigslist, meet him in a parking lot. Don't go alone. But something tells me it's going to be a little easier than having to draw a summoning circle to get your hands on a PlayStation 5 Series X. And unlike the Series S, you're not going to have to just give up and say, okay, I'll go digital. Another thing that I really particularly like is how they handled all the wires in the back. This really cool looking half donut hole down here, because when they announced that they were going to have all of the Ethernet cord, my first initial thought was, well, that's going to be a lot of wires in the back, because you have the power cord, the HDMI, and one USB in the background of there. Now we're adding a fourth one. Turns out what they did was actually genius. And that's another thing, this pops right off. This pops right off over here, so I don't have to worry about popping it off since it's designed to. So, what they ended up doing was the Ethernet cable now goes on the bottom here, where the USB cable used to go. And the cool thing about that is that they moved the USB cables to the outside over here in the same block where they have them. So now, if you're like me and you have the Smash adapter, because I refuse to play Smash on anything that isn't a GameCube controller, fight me. Now you can still be able to plug that in. You'll still be able to plug in the AC adapter, the HDMI, and the new Ethernet cable, so you don't have to deal with button lag when you play Smash Online. So I'm really, really impressed with how they did that. And instead of trying to force everything out of like a little square on the base Switch, you now have this very elegant little circle over here, so you can just kind of pull them through and they're not scrunched together. For my final thoughts, is this console worth $350? I'm going to say maybe. If you're like me and you had the money to spend and you're okay with it, then by all means go for it. It's a judgment call. However, if you're on the fence about it, I would stick it out for a little while longer. I would wait until you can get it discounted. I would wait not until a price drop, because I can't foresee a price drop anytime soon. But if you can get it on sale, if you can get a bundle with it, if you're looking to trade in your old Switch through GameStop, because they're, running promotions all the time. Hail GameStop. Hail GameStop. Do you think they can hear us? Should we be wearing GameStop hats? They don't allow us to wear hats, that's right. They sell hats that they don't allow us to wear. But yes, alright, so if you're on the fence about the console, I would hold off just in case, because the normal Switch plays all the same games. And if you can get a bundle, if you can get it on sale, if you can find some way to reduce that price point a little bit, even just the $50, if you can get it down to $300, I think then it'll absolutely be worth it. Because like I said, it's a lot more impressive now that it's in my hands. I'm thoroughly way more impressed. It's not just the Switch 3.5. It definitely feels like an upgraded Switch. It doesn't feel like you're getting the next iPhone and all it does is work now because, I don't know, they put a new camera on it or whatever. Case in point. So yes, final thoughts, very much more impressed with it than I thought. Maybe wait for a price drop though. But what do you think about the Nintendo Switch OLED? Let us know in the comments below, and if you like this type of content, if you like our style reviews, or if you just like my pretty scruffy face and this Nintendo trucker outfit I've got going on here, be sure to like the video, comment, subscribe to us, ring the bell for notifications because YouTube can't figure out how to get their notifications going. And I'm Patrick from 4Player LAN Party, and we'll see you in the next LAN Party.